Croeso, hello, welcome to Britain's Hidden History number 114. Wow, and they said it would never last. Take it away, Anne. I should know what this is called. Right, hello, who's on first tonight? Arnie. That's a count. Davy, that fuel. Did you win your cricket match today? Yes, they did. Thank you very much for asking. It's the first match they've ever won. Hooray. So that was great. Thank you very much for asking. Hello, Charles John. Hello, everyone. Gary Taylor, Graham King. Hope you're feeling better. I'm feeling a little bit better. I'll talk about that in a second. Hello, Marcel, Ron P. English and Latin is Angelorum. This is the term angle comes from. Oh, apparently the term Anglo-Saxon for the Angles and Saxons wasn't mentioned until 1783. That doesn't surprise me at all. Pronounced yes, this heat wave is... I have to put a jumper on. I hope you like the new jumper, by the way. Don't know if you can see the little funky thing on there. Oh, you can read that. Thank you, Arnie. What's that called, Anne?
I don't know.
Don't know. Some traditional Welsh song. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, excuse me. Yes, I haven't been... This might be a shortened show. I can't hardly talk as well. This might be a shortened show tonight. Because I've been wiped out and in bed for a few days. And I got up... God, I lost track of days now. I think it was yesterday evening. And I was in the kitchen. And I had a bit of a dizzy spell as well. Whatever it was really hit me hard. And I actually fell over. I wouldn't say collapse. That's a bit too dramatic. Right, so I slumped to the floor. And banged my head on the kitchen units on the way down. So you notice I got a bit of a thick lip. It's not Angie's got bored of me or fed up on me or something. I got a bashed lip there, a bit of a black eye. And a bruise on my head. There. Ow. There and there. So that was a bit of a shock. So it might be a shortened show. The trouble is, I just whacked my tooth here. So I got a bit of a lisp at the moment. So I can't say shortened show. I just think there we are. The programme might not be as long. I've got to avoid all the tonight. But I'm feeling okay. I just feel a bit tired. Right. I know you don't like Satanic Protocol, but you really must promote it more, because it's important that story be told. Thank you, Matt Taylor. Yes, I don't like the title, but for those who are not aware, Satanic Protocol is the story of Wilson of Blackett being persecuted over the years, subjects like to try and avoid, mostly by the police and people like that, MI5. Oh, well, never mind. Right, let's have a look. They want the story of the resurrection originated in Nevin. Aha, and the cave was the real cave. Jesus was laid... Well, Davy, that fuel, stealing my thunder. Something like that is what I'm going to think about, yes. So, hang on a second. So, Jesus was laid in after the crucifixion. The Romans came and stole the cross, and Helen went to get it back. That's slightly different to what I had in mind, but something like that. This one, I'll do a few more of those, giving people a chance to log in. But, you okay?
It's a mirror image.
Mirror image?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, left to right.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's all backwards, isn't it? So Chronologics is backwards, everything's backwards. Yeah. I must look very weird. What's happened? The camera's been set up. Oh no.
It's always been like that.
No, it hasn't.
Because we'll be standing on the left side on the screen.
Yeah, but if you look on, it's not always like that. Because look, it's backwards on the front, look. The words are backwards, look.
Yeah.
No. It's not normally like that. Anyway, not to worry. We'll carry on. Completely lost my track now. Okay. Yeah, so if you're new to all this, it's looking at the fact there's so much history is just being invented, manipulated. I'm sure you're aware of all this. As the saying goes, if you think the news is fake, you should see what's been done to our history. And particularly British history, because it's never fitted any political agendas. The fact that there was Christianity in Britain for hundreds of years before the Catholic Church came along, that doesn't suit the church, obviously, because Church of England and all that is a spin-off, so they don't want this to be known. The fact we've got an ancient royal British royal family, it's been there for... Let's think about it. If it goes back to at least 500 BC, and the current royal family is dating itself from about 1000 AD, so it's about 1,500 years before it. And those descendants are still around the place, mostly bought off with nice cushy jobs and plenty of money. Yeah. Oh, no, we're live now. We don't have to live with it being backwards now, okay? Anyway, so if you can't read this backwards there, It says hieroglyphs are in Welsh, you mummy. So it was backwards. Anyway, so what we're looking at there, one of the big rewrites that there's been a few rewrites, and one of the earlier ones that becomes really important in this, as David has already touched on, because at some point, around about the 4th century AD, going on our current chronology, of course, these dates are all over the place, really, and who knows what the real chronology is. If you look at something like flamenco, hundreds of years have been added in, and history's been copied back, and all sorts of craziness is going on, and it's a real puzzle to try and work it all out. One of the things which seems to be a major rewrite is before the work of Wilson and Blackett, really. They don't really go into this kind of thing. Contrary to popular belief, they're very straight historians. They're not really into conspiracy theories, any of that kind of thing. They just follow the written records and tell us what it says. But one of the theories out there is that when Constantine reinvented Christianity in the 4th century, Council of Nicaea, all those things, and introduced the formal version of what's become Christianity, the Roman version, which we all know through our churches and led to hundreds and hundreds of years of warfare, with the poor old Britons on the wrong end of it again, with various people put up to taking them out. One of the theories is that rewrite involved moving the story of the Bible from Britain, where the events really happened, and Constantine decided to move them over to Middle East, which suited him far better, because that would be near his new capital in Constantinople. But of course, you have the other Constantinople in West Wales. It all gets really confusing. And one of the stories we're going to look at, some lovely pictures from Bob and that, because I've been wiped out for a few days. So thank you to Bob Morgan. He's put together some photographs for me and a bit of the presentation and stuff. So we'll be kicking on with that. So we'll see how far we get. We'll get to that one as well. Now, the Arthur one, I'm not going to go into as much detail as I thought tonight, but the basic principle is one of the things that it's pretty obvious when you think about it. In the official story narrative, we've got King Arthur fighting the Romans in 1 minute, and then 250 years later he's fighting the Saxons. So clearly one person can't live that long. And it's pretty clear there's two people, their stories are being mixed in. So we'll have a look at that for a moment. So I'll just say hello to some of the messages here. Ian Briggs, I read somewhere that Christ wasn't depicted on a cross until the 8th or 9th century. Great. I guess worse and worse, isn't it? Marshall, not nearly enough evidence is given to folk tales. Yes, it drives me potty. Yes, a lot of information in these stories that are passed on. They wouldn't have passed all these stories down for nothing. So there we go. Right, trying to catch it. Wow, loads and loads of comments. Great to see it. Loads of people online. Fantastic. Okay, like I said, it might be a bit shorter tonight because I'm not feeling 100%. I do feel. I think the fall was the worst part of it. I do feel being smacked in the face. I'm not as fit as I used to be. I used to queue up and volunteer to do things like boxing, get in the face, but there we are. Getting soft in my old age. Right, okay, so let's have a quick look. Oh yeah, so I meant to mention last week, thank you very much to all the Patreon supporters, all the downloads and everything. I try to keep up, I send them out free, so all the notes from each show, the downloads like the original Odyssey and things like that, they get sent out free. So please become a Patreon supporter. We need some sort of way of underwriting this to make it viable. I'll try and make a living out of this somehow. And it's been a little bit disappointing on the downloads front. Okay, so there's a story. I think we covered that last week. So I'm not going to do any more Hadrian's Wall tonight. So here's one, for example, original Odyssey. If you saw the show a couple of weeks ago, you can just about see the route on here. The idea is that if you look at the... you can see it there on the screen. It was a fabulous voyage made by the sea captain Odysseus, Ulysses, fiction, or was it real? Now, the idea is that there was a real journey that was made. Now, what's crazy, if you follow the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, what's mad about it is that the amazing Odysseus or Ulysses, it takes him 3.5 to 10 years to get across the Mediterranean, which is just, quite frankly, ridiculous, yeah? So what is being described? Is it just a completely made-up story full of interesting little anecdotes and curious things? Or is Homer actually describing a real journey that took place? And just the names have been changed or it's been conflated somehow. And what Wilson and Blackett have done rather brilliantly is work out that if you follow the notes that Homer provides us, you can work out the route that's being described. And amazingly, it's a circumnavigation around the world. And then he tries to link that then with the Egyptian who actually made that story and how you can see it in the Egyptian records. So it's a fantastic piece. The download's only £3. You'll see the link in the description there. Please, so far, the massive total of 34 have been downloaded. It's only £3, as you can see. It's not very viable like this. So I don't know if it's too cheap or we need to try something else. But it is worth a lot more. Made it £3 to try and make it accessible to as many people as possible, okay? Just a reminder, I know my thoughts go out to Hugh. He's had a very tough week with his parents and everything. So everyone send out our prayers and best thoughts for Hugh. So at the moment we are still down for doing August the 27th. We're going to do a presentation probably in Morganstown. So please keep that date clear in your diaries. Right, okay, here's a fun one. Here's a new channel. I tell you what I'll do actually, just a quick interlude, just to show people how easy it is to make the download. It's like, right, so what you got to do, go to cameraglyphics.com. So this Cameraglyphics, which is backwards tonight for some reason. Alright, so we got the download and donate button. And there you find loads of downloads, maps and things like this. And there's the books like Original Odyssey. And you can download it. And if you want to make a donation or something, that'd be fantastic. Alright, help keep this thing going. Because we're going to be struggling soon otherwise. Right, okay, let's get back to... right, okay, so we got that here. Right, okay. Right, Mysteries Inc. Now, there's a strange name, isn't it? Not much given away on that. You can see it's a very new channel. It's only been running less than 2 weeks. It's getting very few views. And in case you're wondering, who is Mysteries Inc. and why am I mentioning it? Well, it's our good friend and regular guest who I really need to get on again soon to follow up where we left things off. And that is, bottom right-hand corner, looking all mysterious there with his hat and glasses and beard, looking like he's hiding in disguise. It's Luke. It's Luke's new channel, and I have to say, it's absolutely fantastic. I must warn you now, immediately, it's really, really deep. It's really deep. This first video, I was telling you, if you don't know about YouTube, when you do your stats on YouTube, you get this thing called average watch duration. So, for example, my Sunday show is usually like an hour and a half, 2 hours or something, but clearly not everyone watches the whole thing. I think people jump in and out, so figures all over the place. I think the average watch time is about 35 minutes, which by YouTube standards is phenomenal. But still, it's a lot less than the total for the video, okay? I am convinced that when Luke does his analysis, has a look on his thing that YouTube sends you, that his average watch time will be far longer. Because I've spoken to Graham and a couple of others who watch this, and it's the same as me, you have to pause, rewind, look a bit more, rewind, some bits 5 or 6 times. It's fantastic. It'll really test you. All about the important things in life, like, how does things come into being? How do you go from 0 to 1? Everything starts with a thought, then how numbers work, and then how this ties in with music and how our numbers are not accidental. It's a base 10. It's not being chosen. It has to be. And then you can see how the numbers work together. And, of course, you've got the magic, the number 9, where you've got the 9. It always adds up to 9, doesn't it? So 9, 18 is 1 and 8. 8 is 9. 27 is 9. And it's I'm not even going to try and explain it all here. You need to watch the videos. But I warn you, do have your thinking hats on, okay? So after this show, there'll be one for you to watch. And I said, this show does run a bit short tonight. Short. I can't say that word. I hope this tooth isn't loose, which it feels like it is. Right, okay. So there's one picture I picked off just from one of the videos where it explains how the numbers work, how pentagons work, how the whole thing, and it's brilliant. I can't recommend it highly enough. Okay, so we're jumping straight in tonight. Right, okay, so let's just take that away. There are lots of graphics and pictures coming up, but not on Arthur. Right, let's read a couple of comments as well. Oop, anonymous spectacles with me. Great. Okay, alright, I can't. This is straight into Commun's Beaumont territory. If you look down the east coast of Britain, there are lots of cat names. Right, okay, alright. Right, okay, the first one, Arthur 1, which I want to do a separate video on, I think is better, is if you go onto, say, a Facebook group or something, there's a lot of academics out there who feel, I don't know, very threatened or something by Wilson and Blackett, and they quite aggressively attack them. One of the things I had to deal with this week, for example, someone really maliciously was putting on there that Baron Blackett went to prison for 15 months for handling stolen goods. It's completely untrue. So if you see this anywhere, you really must challenge people. I challenge that person and say, well, put your evidence on the table. So I know it's not true. They've never been convicted of anything. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. The whole case fell apart before they even got into the proper trial. It was a farce. They've just been stitched up, okay? So things like that. Now, another one, which they often get attacked on, is this idea that, like I was saying before, obviously there's two Arthurs. Or are there? What we really have, when you think about it, is the stories of two people mixed together. So you got this person who was fighting the Romans, and you got this person who's the one we're more familiar with the Round Table and fighting the Saxons, all that kind of stuff. So what people do is they attack Wilson and Blackett for saying, aha, Wilson and Blackett say in the book that he was called Arhun, whereas if you look in the records, it's Arnun with an N. It's like, honestly, this is the level it gets to. And one thing I was like, actually I wanted to show on there, so I'll do it again properly, is the difference between hang on, it's a mirror image, and I'm facing that. Oh, this is complicated. An R and an N is almost the same thing, all right? And a malicious little scribe could be adding a bit on there to make an R into an N to hide his name. There's lots of things could happen. One of the things you'll find, I've got another book on King Arthur, which I'm going to review soon, which is very interesting. One of the things they point out in there is this real battle that went on between the monks and the sort of scribes and everything. And they hated Arthur. And people like Gildas were determined to remove him from all the records. So all these things get confusing, okay? But the point I was trying to make tonight is what matters is not these Arnun or Arun or all these different combinations. Androgathius is another name, all these different names. The point is the same. We've got the story of what happened in the 380s, the 4th century, and the British invasion of Western Europe, going all the way down on into Greece, which is where the title King of Greece comes from. And then we got the separate story in the 6th century, which is Arthur II. Now, bizarrely, what tends to happen is people sort of split the difference, which doesn't fit either story, and say, it must be early 5th century, it must be 410s or 420s. So there's still the last bits of Romans there, but the Saxons have also started arriving. No, you can't split the difference. Too much of this goes on in history. Same with the chronology in Egypt. Some people say the pyramids, 8,000 years old. Some say 4. Let's split the difference 6. And that means you're both wrong. You can't do that. And this is one of the points Wilson and Blackett show us. So the point I'm trying to make is there are two stories mixed together. Now we can argue about the details of exactly who the first story's about, and there's some of the details about what actually happened. But there's definitely two people, and the story's been conflated into one. And in many ways, whether it's Arnun, Arun, or things like that, is a bit of a red herring. That's all we want to say on that one. And I'll try and do a separate video with some more details. Right, okay. Right, so what I'm going to get into now, there's a little bit, I think a lot of people, judging by the comments, quite a few people are already aware of this. A second. Have made by far the most compelling argument for the identity of Arthur. Yeah, thank you, Richard. Sorry, I should have made that clear. Wilson and Blackett make an incredibly strong presentation argument for who Arthur the First is. And you'll see a few live broadcasts ago I did a thing on that, and I want to do more on that. I think they're very convincing. But I also want to point out to people the little tweaky bits, as I'm saying, they've worked out who he is, but exactly how his name was written down in medieval manuscripts and stuff is really a red herring. It's a red herring, what kind of things they did there. Right, I'm just going to read you. Oh, glasses. Hey, oh, I can read the comments now. Yes, Chris Rudd is very pro-British and very detailed. So much information we got from the coins. Yeah, I had an argument with a guy one night who said that about Aram. He also said it was not his real name. No, Barham's not his real name. He had to change his name because he's getting so much harassment and persecution. So if anyone says they've seen Barham Blackett's name in court records or something prosecuted, you know immediately it's nonsense, because that's not his real name anyway. And before anyone cries about it, nearly all authors have pen names. People try and make out it's some really dodgy practice, but nearly all authors have a pen name. And he was sort of forced to do that because of the amount of harassment they were getting. That's why they had to leave South Wales and go and live in Newcastle. So there you go. Ross, Nev in Welsh means heaven. Nevin related to heaven, origin of the word heaven. Yep, very good, David. But actually, Nevin's only part of the name. We got the Welsh name a little bit longer than that, which has been lost. Nevin's not really the right name. Right, okay, so there's the... I can't believe it's a few years ago now. How fast my boys grow up. Little boy there, look. So one of the things we're talking about, if you're not aware of it, is this strange thing. This is a cliff in Nevin. And there is a cross, which I hope you can see. Okay. Now, and if you also look very closely, you might be able to notice that this top half of the cliff is solid. This is a solid cliff up here. That's part of the solid cliff. Whereas there's a change here. And what transpires, if you look closely, this again is solid. This is actually bricked in walls. These are little bricks. And curiously, when we were up there, you can see people still use, it seems to be something about the way the stones split in this area, because there's some walls and that around people's gardens and things, and you've got a very similar style of very flat stones like these. And these, do not touch these, by the way. Don't go, this is a protected monument, thanks to Wilson and Blackett. It didn't used to be. The problem is it's stuck in one of those double binds now, because CADW have scheduled it and it's protected and you can't touch it. But they won't touch it either, so we're just left wondering now. And if you read, if we go through Wilson and Blackett's work, you'll find, and I got downloaded all this in, by the way, about this one, that there have been some naughty people in the past who've had a look through. One put a little camera through, and according to that person, we got no way of verifying it. There's a cavity in here, and then there's another bricked up wall behind. And the idea is, this is the place where the cross was. Now, on the platform, where I think that's Zavi, where Zavi's sitting, that platform he's on is very smooth, because all through medieval times, this was one of the main, pilgrimage sites. This is one of the main pilgrimage sites for the whole of Britain. Well, in the world, in fact. So what you would do, you would come here, you would stand on, where's my mouse keep swinging? You'd step on there and you would touch the cross, and you would try and dream then of a vision of the cross. And you can see this stone here has been worn smooth just by people over hundreds of years doing that. So this site was incredibly important. So why would they come here to get a vision of the cross? Well, the story of the Wilson and Blackett piece together, I think most of you are aware of, and I've done a video on it. If you search Helen in the videos, you'll find a video just on that. We'll see this picture's been lifted from. Is that the story is that Constantine, let's try and get the years in my head now. So about the 340s, 350s, after he's declared Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire. So what's happened then? Helen has decided to go off and get the real cross. So there's a cross just above your son's head. Yeah, there it is. Oh, another cross. Or do you mean this one? This is the cross here, yeah. Just doing that. Hope you can see that cross. Hang on, another picture here. There's Steve, who's done fantastic work on this. And yes, Steve, we are going to go up soon, up to Newcastle again soon. Give you a shout about that. So yeah, you get different angles, Bob's photography here. So it's been so cleverly done. These are little stones are slotted together to make the bottom half of the cross. Then the top half of the cross is carved out of the cliff. And you can see there, Steve's demonstrating there. You put your foot on there, then you can touch the cross, and then you pray for a vision of the cross. And all this is bricked in. And no one seems to have realised this, not for a long, long time, till Wilson and Blackett rose people's awareness to it. Now, what's also interesting is that back in the day, when they were doing this in the late 80s, before it was scheduled, effectively, I think it was scheduled in 92. Well, the rules on scheduling have changed as well. But anyway, they got back in the days of what's his name? He'll come back to me in a second. Anyway, they had ground penetrating radar, like a very, very powerful. Oh, what's his name? Come on, someone on there, Alan. I've got Alan's surname. The other Alan. Anyway, I think that's what did for him, by the way. Anyway, he had this very powerful ground penetrating radar, and he could tell if something was ferrous metal, if it was iron, or if it was some other kind of metal. And his readings were that there's a casket down behind these walls, which would match the sort of size and what we'd expect to find if indeed Helen found his cross and brought it back. Now, the story about Helen going to Jerusalem is quite fascinating as well, because she said she wanted the cross, and the story, the details vary according to which account you look at, but one of the stories that always sticks out in my mind, seems to be consistent in them, is that she was convinced that these priests knew where the true cross was, where the last remains of it were, but they wouldn't tell her. They would not tell her. So the way she sorted this out was to just dump them in a pit and just let them starve to death. So as they started starving to death, and she'd bump the odd one off and everything. You're right, the Holy Kingdom is an example of how WPs work, or 2%, sorry, yeah. So finally, it's a bit like the old American things was done in Vietnam, wasn't it? They take the helicopter up, you have 4 prisoners, you chuck the first one out the window, you chuck the second one out the window, and the next 2 tend to talk. It was a bit like that. So she got the cross, she took the nails out and made a bridle for a horse out of them and sent those to her son Constantine. And then Helen is said to have brought the cross itself back to South Wales. And the choice of location in South Wales is really, really important. I've got to give this background so we can take the discussion a little bit further, okay? So this isn't just about what Wilson and Blackett wrote. David has sort of hinted onto what I'm thinking here. Okay, so there's another view of it. It's worth a visit down to Nevern. There's a few things in Nevern worth seeing. I was down there, just a little story. When I was down there, as I say as well, thank you. I didn't thank Neil and Claire for the hospitality. They're absolutely fantastic. Had a great night down there a few days ago. Wonderful time with Graham and Gavin, who's absolutely great. And they're down West Wales. It's one of those places you can go and visit while you're down there. So we also went with Claire, because Claire's the one who put us on to the Magic Castle. We made another follow-up video with some sort of psychic work being done on it. So that's coming up soon. I've filmed all that. And on the way back, we also stopped off at the lake where they found things like a sword and votive offerings up on the Ricos. So that video is really cool as well. And that's already edited, just going to go up. There's a bit of nudity in it. I had to work out how to do the fuzzy thing to hide some bits. So look out for that one. Anyway, so the question is, why would you bring it back here? Right, well, this is, thank you to Bob for making this map. This is taking the work from Wilson and Blackett, and Bob has put it onto a map for me, so it looks beautiful, nice and clear. So what we have where Nevern is, this is the Greek, or we can call it Cygnus, the swan, also means the Holy Cross. And this, if you're looking at the star map, this is where Nevern is, right underneath that. And then you can go down to here, Pentra Ivan. You can see the beautiful Cromlech. Hang on. Looks like this. Okay, Pentra Ivan. There's Trechlavan Cromlech. Just that one there. And I'll show you the other two as well in a minute. And if you line these up, you get your cross here, which is where Nevern is, where the cross on the wall is, where the cross is said to be. And the other thing I'm going to get onto this evening a little bit is the Templars. This seems to be where the Templars began as well. Or at least had a major contact. My thinking is that the Templars might even have been formed here. If that's where the cross is, and this is where these things are supposed to have happened, where else would the Templars be? I mean, this idea of the Middle East, if this is a creation of Constantine, the 4th century, too many things don't make sense. Anyway, so there's going to be a discussion towards the end of this, because I must warn you now, I don't have any amazing answers on this. A lot of questions, and I was going to spend the last few days trying to tie it all together in my head, but I haven't been well enough to even do that. But let's take any more comments on this. Right. Okay, so you can follow the comments yourself. I'll come back to those a bit later. Okay. Carrie Coyton Arter is that in this as well. There we go. Says Pentry Even. Thank you for the photographs, Bob. Another photograph, Pentry Even. By the way, you can't really see on these photographs. One of the absolutely super cool, groovy things, and I need to check Pentry Even. Look at that in the background. Is that Carningley? With most of these dolmens, or cromlechs, they have 3 stones underneath, but the large stone only balances on 2. It looks like all 3 are touching, but I think I checked it. I'm pretty sure I checked it with Pentry Even as well. And if you look, it's much thicker this end, which forms a sort of counterweight, and this end's much lighter. And I think when I went there, there's about this much gap, just a couple of millimetres. I mean, how on earth they would do that, or why they'd do that, is just crazy. So next time you go to a cromlech or something, have a look for yourself, see if all 3 points are touching, or if it's 2 and a little tiny gap. This is just, part of me thinks they were doing it just to wind us up, just to say, I wonder if anyone notices, or for hundreds of years people have been wondering how we did this. I guess a bit of Welsh humour myself. I wouldn't be surprised if the same with this one. So here's the one, Carrie Coyton Arthur. Now, there is a download available if you look on the description. And if you go in the download, it gives you all the... it's £2, okay? But then in there's all the different breakdowns of different stars and that kind of stuff, all right? Okay, so here's the Arthur one. So it's 3 points again. I have to say, it does look like it's on. Right, this is an interesting one here, because this is the cup-marked rock. Now, what's frustrating, and this is what we got up on Eglwys behind me, where they're going to put the Windfarm. Look at that beautiful shot. It's a beautiful photograph, Bob, I have to say. And you can see that in the background. I think it's Carningley. Might be Carney-Knock. I'm pretty sure it's Carningley. I should know. I spent the night sleeping up there, or trying to sleep up there, with with Lawrence the Druid. So what you're looking for is these cups, and we have those on the Eglwys on a few of the stones. And that area's going to be ruined by this Windfarm, as you know. And what I hadn't thought of before is this. It looks something like this. Oh, hang on. Where's it gone? All right, okay. There should be a bit of text here. The question is, this is an artistic representation of all the, what they call the cut marks, little sort of bevels that have been carved out of the stones. You'll see this in a lot of ancient stones, all right? It's very important. And something which... Bob points out to me, apparently there's 75 cut marks there. I haven't counted them to check. And the question is, what do they represent? What are they? Is it some sort of map? Is it a star map? I mean, what do you think we're doing there? What do you think this is... what do you think this might be doing there? Oh, thank you for the love. Thank you, Old Will, Florida. So what's the... have a look at that for a minute and just think, is it like planet systems, a star system? I mean, it is a bit of a puzzle, isn't it? But what has made me realise as well, we need to accurately map the cup holes on the stones up on Eglwys Common as well, or St Gennydd Common. Same thing, confusingly called different things by different people. I've always called it St Gennydd Common, but the sign says Eglwys Common. But if you type Eglwys Common into your sat-nav, you'll end up on this side of the hill next to Eglwys Church rather than on the common. So work that out. If you're trying to find it, the sign says Eglwys, but your sat-nav you'll say St Gennydd, okay? Right, so that's a curious one. Right, this one example, I was saying there's a few of these. Excuse the fiddly red lines. It's on Word before I did the publishing thing. So it's a PDF to download. All that'll disappear. So here's one little star sign, which I think is fantastic. So you've got this pattern of cairns here with their names, all right? Now if we translate the names, the cairns are the sceptre of Cephas. May have interesting names. Most picture star charts show the sceptre of Cephas as pointing to or topped by the fleur-de-lis, or the stylized lily. And here is proximity. The top of the 3-star cairns of Cephas' sceptre is Cairn Alw. There it is. That means lily in Welsh, okay? So there's the lily. So now we got these 3, okay? So Cairn Breseb is the cairn of the manger. Now, is it just coincidence that Jesus was born in a manger? Then we got Goidog, which appears to mean the cairn of daring or boldness. And then we got Feddai. Oop, typo, that should be a double D. Foel Feddai Khan appears to be either bear or a flight or fleeing, with the old word fedd for conduct or manner. So the conduct of a flight or fleeing involving daring and associated with a manger brings the Jesus story to mind, with a child born in a manger and a daring flight to safety in Egypt. This is admittedly conjecture. It's pretty cool though, isn't it? And what you'll find is on the download is half a dozen of these, and they all tell stories, these names. They're not random at all. Well, they don't appear to be random. They appear to be meant to be read as star signs. Now, what Alan doesn't do, unfortunately, in the book, which he should do more of, and we're working on, well, Bob and Steve mostly, is creating more maps like this, where they're plotted on the maps for us to try and work them all out, okay? And you'll see one map at the end here, where it gets a bit more difficult. Okay. Here it is. So here's some of them. So what you have to do from this then, you have to put these into their crosses. So there's the lily, for example, up there. There's ones we just looked at, Breseb and Goidog. So you can check all these out. So it's an absolutely fascinating story. So let's check there's no more on it. Yep, okay. So the situation we have. Now there's something about this though which has always struck me as strange. Something we're missing something here, I thought. There's something we are missing. I mean, the chronology, as you know, dates, who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you work out the dates of anything anymore. But one thing I would be fairly confident about is that those cromlechs are pretty ancient. And I would suggest pre-Christian. I would suggest the cromlechs are pre-Christian. And I'd also suggest the names are probably pre-Christian. Can't be so confident about that, can we? The cromlechs are pre-Christian. But if we got a situation whereby we've got the cromlechs forming a cross, which match, by the way, these patterns of cromlechs match the stars above us, as above, so below, okay? So, and the other thing to follow in with the Helen story, which I should have mentioned, is if you go through the areas leading up to it, you'll find various places referring to the cross. You know, there's High Cross and this cross and that cross. And Wilson Blackett points out that they're every 8 to 10 miles. So if you were in a slow parade showing off the cross to the people, you'd stop every 8 to 10 miles and then you know, call it a stopping place. You got a similar thing in England, where the official story is, if you come down, one of the queens, was it Eleanor? Can't remember, one of the queens in the sort of War of the Roses era, I can't remember the details. The grief-stricken husband wanted to bring the body back to London, and you got all those crosses all the way down through the centre of England, and they're all the stopping places for the body. Right, so it's a similar sort of situation there. You've got this series of places called cross. Now when you get to Never and that, you've got San Helen, you've got the Road of Helen, you've got the rivers, the streams are called the Empress Helen. Everything's to do with the Empress and Helen and the cross. So that everything's very, very powerful argument for it being there. Right, now all that works, and I think it's well worth reading, and it's well worth looking at, and the cromlechs and all that kind of stuff. And how would you know to find a place for the cross before there was a cross? This is my question, I guess. I find it very difficult to actually make clear the question I'm trying to get to. This is the difficulty here. these places, the cromlechs and all that, were presumably in place before the story of Christianity. And did Helen sort of wake up one day and went, oh, I know, we've got this great place where the stars are across, that's where the cross should go. Something doesn't ring quite right about that to me. It might be the case. It might be the case. It just seems the difficult situation, especially when we look at this situation whereby, if we look at a case which I'm finding increasingly compelling, if we look at the work of Comyns Beaumont, he shows, I would say quite convincingly, that Jerusalem was in Edinburgh. So presumably the execution or the mock execution, wherever it was, the crucifixion, would have taken place in Edinburgh or just outside Edinburgh. And then the Holy Family, when they were fleeing, would have been fleeing to South Wales for whatever reasons. Hang on a second. Now, his argument would be that the Jewish community and everything was in that area of Scotland between the two walls. Now, Wilson and Blackett, the lost tribe, being in South Wales, which Comyns Beaumont also calls Egypt. So you can see how confusing this all gets. This needs really pulling apart. If Constantine invented the narrative, and if he created the idea of there being a Jerusalem in the Middle East and his new Constantinople, so he's basically copying and pasting the story to the Middle East, why would Helen go to so much trouble of going all the way to the Middle East to find this cross, this amazing story with the bridles and nails and the torturing of the priests and the long journey back and bringing the cross all the way with her, if the cross was never there? And it sort of twigs then. I'm interested to see people's ideas on this. Because what you have to try and do is that these people were really, really... I'll put my glass on so I can read the comments as they're coming in. What we're going to do is, these people were really, really devious. They were like so subtle. You've got to try and think, a story within a story within a story. I mean, how long have we been doing this? I've been doing this for, I don't know, 7-8 years or something now, pretty much full time. And I'm trying to get into it. These people would have spent, whole teams of them spending their whole lives just thinking about how to do this and how to pull it off. Now, Richard's, rather inclined to stick with traditional timeline locations at the moment. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. I'm sort of jumping in a bit deep this week. So what we have is a situation whereby, let's try and think of it the other way around. So let's say we did have a crucifixion story in Britain, and they just moved, for whatever reasons, they moved to Wales, and that's where Jesus lived out his life in the areas we know about, Anisthinas, Cwm Dewi, all these places about Dewi and Jesus and living his life out there, and presumably bringing the cross with him. So I think it's more likely that this would be the place where it would have happened, and the cross would have been there. So could it be the case that the cross was there all along? This is what I'm trying to get around to in a very, very long, long, long way around to getting there. The cross was already there. And this whole charade, this journey by Helen and Constantine, is just some very complicated ruse to explain why the cross is in Wales, to explain why the cross is there. And the cross was never in the Middle East. This is how devious you have to start thinking. So it's my mind to say, how do you explain this cross being here if the Bible story took place in the Middle East? And then we've got the traditional explanation, which Wilson and Blackett give. And please don't see us an attack on Wilson and Blackett. It's completely opposite, because they work with the conventional narrative, and they're probably right. Who's to say they're wrong? But what they do relate there is why the things would happen as they do. Because if we do go with the Roman Empire, if we look at the map, it all makes perfect sense. The Roman Empire controls the whole of the Mediterranean. I'll tell you what, see if I can bring up the map. Hang on one sec. Just bear with me. Let's type in map of Roman Empire. There we go. Easy enough, isn't it? Hang on one sec. Sorry to keep you waiting. Oh, God. Right. All right, I have to accept their thingies now. Okay. Right, here we go. Right, okay. So this is 117 AD, okay? Well, of course, the crucifixion and the flight of the Holy Family took place around about 39 AD. At that point, before the invasion by Claudius in 55 AD, okay? That's 44 AD. So this bit here, Britannia as they're calling it here, would not have been part of the Roman Empire. So the official story we have, here's Egypt, here's Israel, Judea. So we're saying Jerusalem. Is it not marked on there? It should be around here somewhere. Hang on. Anyway, round about there somewhere. So they've had to flee. So the first place that have fled to is to Egypt. And this is where we think a lot of the missing story is. And that's what I was talking about last week. I think that's where the son would have been born. And that's why he was called the Egyptian. Okay, now what they've done then is this Roman Empire starts to expand and starts gobbling all this up. They've had to flee all the way around here. Either cutting through, I think that's the most likely, and I think that ties in with this traditions and ceremonies in the south of France with the Black Madonna, because it had been half caste on account of her mother, father or grandfather being the king of Nubia, who married into the Egyptian royal family. All right, so they come up here, landed here, follow the main rivers. You can see there's a river, another river, brings you out in Brittany very nicely around to Britain. So that's the official, not the official, that's the Wilson and Blackett narrative, all right, which does fit in with everything. It's super cool. I think it's fantastic. So I don't have a problem with this, but just suddenly struck, the question I'm going to get to tonight in my sort of slightly befuddled brain is if this didn't happen like this, if this wasn't the place, if the execution or the story took place here, Jerusalem being there, and not the Bible events being around here, because there is a place called Bethlehem, and there's almost all the places in the Bible exist in Britain. This is the curious thing. And I would suggest particularly the Old Testament is probably around this area, Somerset and South East Wales. Parts of the New Testament, or the later life of Jesus in West Wales, and Jerusalem round about Edinburgh. And then you've got other places, Syria and places like that here. And Marco with his broadcast looks at something similar. So this is the story we've got where they flee this way. So I'm saying, can we make it work if we look at the model of it being in Britain as well? So I'm really open to ideas on that one. I mean, was there even a Roman Empire, of course? Do we have one slightly earlier than that? Gosh, what's this? There's some weird things out there, aren't there? All right, okay. No, I think we had the best map, didn't we? Right. All right, let's read some comments here. Even 117, they coloured the British Empire pink on maps. Yes, pink was always a man's colour. Isn't that strange in Victorian times? Pink for boys. It's that whole thing changed with Mattel when Mattel invented Barbie. They stole pink and made it a girl's colour. Isn't it funny how these things happen? Right, let's look at this now. The discussion about Holy Kingdom. We're talking about... Right, Alan Hassel. Thank you, Charlie John. Alan Hassel. Alan Hassel, who's the one who did all the stuff with the detectors and all that kind of thing. Great big square ones. Some he put around himself. Very, very powerful electromagnetic radiation being pumped down and him in the middle of it. And he died quite young of cancers and that. And I got a horrible, horrible feeling that he spent a lot of time working on these machines and that might have contributed at least anyway. So if you want to go to Brit Hidden History, not British Hidden History, or Britain's, just Brit Hidden History, you'll find the forums. Go to the website, go to Cumberglyphs, you'll find a link to forum, and you can see most of his work uploaded there, so it's not lost forever. I learned about Wilson and Blackett through Adrian Gilbert. Yeah, I think this is a great book, Holy Kingdom. The only problem is that Adrian Gilbert does duck quite a few of the big issues. And I know there was a bit of a fallout with Alan Wilson, partly because his name was huge and you could hardly see Wilson and Blackett's name when it's all their work. Wilson and Blackett also gave... I hope Adrian Gilbert credited W&B if he used their work in his book. No, he did not. Which is quite sad, really, because a lot of the stuff he did, which I'm going to get back to, the pyramids and everything as well, that was Wilson and Blackett's work as well. which Wilson and Blackett did. Blood of Avalon is an interesting book. He said it was the updated version of Holy Kingdom. I wouldn't. Has anyone read Blood of Avalon? It's quite an interesting book. So I'm rambling a bit now because I've sort of raced through that. It's all done in less than an hour, which is amazing. I did have more to say, but my brain's not really with it today. So thank you for bearing with me. I'll just deal with it. If there's some questions on the comments, or we'll have a little chat in the comments, we'll crack straight to it. I'm going to go back to bed then in a minute. Right, what do you think about this being... Oh, yeah, the Blood of Avalon book. That really upset Alan Wilson, and I'll explain why. In the premise of the book Blood of Avalon by Adrian Gilbert is to try and show some link between the ancient King Arthur. I don't think he ever references Wilson and Blackett throughout the book, which is a bit out of order, but there you go. But he takes the character and the history that Wilson and Blackett have provided with him. He gives a very interesting thing about the birth of Rosicrucianism, which I think the book's worth reading just for that. And he explains how we have the two roses, how you have the native rose, and then you graft roses onto it. And this explains the two royal families. You've got the natural royal family and the royal family grafted on. And he goes into the whole Rosicrucian thing, how that started in West Wales. Oh, the Templars. Thank goodness I mentioned it. That was a bit I almost forgot. I'd have been so annoyed. The Templars. Templars, Ross. Templars. I really should use notes for some of these things. Don't normally have to worry about that. Templars. That's what I almost forgot. Templars. If I get to the end and I mention Templars, someone type in the comments, all right? It ties in perfectly with Adrian Gilbert, which has come up on the chat anyway, so I just want to come at it from this angle. So he shows the Rosicrucians and everything from West Wales, and then what he tries to do is show a link between the historical King Arthur all the way through various, I would say, well, a few leaps of faith and a few gaps, to put it generously, comes all the way to Diana. But the way he opens the book, to get sort of dramatic start, I suppose, is he goes into great detail about the death of Diana and how he sees that as a satanic killing. And he goes to the place and why she was killed, where she was, or why she died in Paris. How it all ties in with Diana and Artemis and all this kind of thing. And the problem, as Alan Wilson says, that as soon as he went there, that made the whole thing toxic. Because he really does, make some pretty powerful accusations there. So Alan Wilson's theory then was that the problem was then he made the whole book toxic. And it makes the whole subject very difficult. Because the authorities, shall we say, not very keen on the idea of a discussion about Diana being murdered. So not trying to promote a load of comments about that here either, okay? There's certain things you're not really supposed to talk about. But anyway, yeah, so where this, so what I meant to mention, I'll tell you what I'll do, I shall bring up, come on Ross, pull yourself together. Right, do my best here. Right, I did have this ready. Okay. So look. Alright, so here's some of the download. You've got various pictures and things. Explanations, different star maps, how they all work, what they all mean. Okay. I want to get into, there's a cross there, probable grave, where Helen's probably buried, which Steve and Bob have put a lot of work in to try and track that down. I think they got the spot, although rather tragically it's been completely despoiled, which is a bit upsetting. Which is very upsetting. That's this is the work that Wilson Blackett did, showing where the burial is and how the drainage works. It's a heartbreaker. Hang on, where's the bit about... I missed the bit I wanted. City of the Good Shepherd. Here we go. Right, the Knights of the Temple. I don't know if I can make this large or not. I don't think I can. Hang on. Right, okay. So someone mentioned earlier that Nevern is holy. Yep, absolutely right. We've got Nanover is the Welsh name, Nanover. So we've got Nyfr being the holy. So we get Nanover. Right, about a mile south, right, this is a bit about the Templars, right? So about a mile south, there is Temple Bar at the crossroads, and some 3 miles southeast is Temple Gate, near where the Avon Bannon River of the Empress joins the Avon Nyfr, the Holy River. These names clearly indicate the presence of the Knights of the Temple in this area. Yeah, the other thing on the Adrian Gilbert's book in Blood of Avalon what he shows there is there are at least a dozen Masonic or Templar names all around West Wales. And I've been hoping, I've been plugging this for a couple of years now. If I had more time, I would. This would be right at the top of my list of research projects to find the source of the Templars and possibly the Freemasons as well. Because one of the little interesting things I noticed when I was going through Robert Shaw's book, Architecture of Power, one of the things he shows in there is that there's always two types of Freemasonry. They're traditionally called Scottish Freemasonry and Irish Freemasonry. And my hunch, I can only call it a hunch, conjecture if you like, my hunch is that what they called Irish Freemasonry was actually Welsh or British Freemasonry, and it originated in West Wales, because it makes perfect sense. That's where it should be. And if you look at the place names, like if you go on the M4, one of the big junctions you go through is called Cross Hands. Where my cousin lives is next to a place called Red Roses. It's just awash with Masonic names and Templar type names. And that would seem the natural place. If the cross is there, if that's where Jesus is supposed to have lived, then this is where these things should have started. And I think the name being changed to Irish or whatever is just, par for the course, really. Right, okay. So there are no obvious references to a Templar commandery or other station at this location, which is strange. This matches with the forgotten Templar station just north of Nevin, where there is a temple bar and a place name of Troederair, or Troederair, which means steps of gold, identifies the missing Templar station that seems to somehow dropped out of the records. See, to me, this is huge, this thing that Wilson and Blackett just drop in there. It's enormous. The ruins of buildings in the woods at Beth Geraint Farm, the grave of Geraint Farm, are virtually certainly, I like that, almost certainly, this missing Templar station of Troederair. Now, I know that Steve and Bob have been searching all around there and got lots of reports to come back on it. And the difficulty is, some of these things, this is, I want to make a bigger point, because I was talking with Bob about this afternoon. What we think, and the more we talk to Alan Wilson, becomes clear. A lot of the things he gives clues for without giving the full answer. And the Welsh people in that area have always not given full answers, and they've hidden things and misdirected, and hiding things is a big one. Sometimes it's just sheer negligence or vandalism by farmers and stuff. For example, I think we know, Bob and Steve think they know where Empress Helen's grave is. You'd never find it today. You'd never find it. And what's the word he uses? Virtually certain. No, he didn't call it that, Lee. Was it? Virtually certain. Virtually certain they found the spot, okay? But you wouldn't be able to see it or anything now. And a lot of these places here, like the Troederair and things like that, you can still see them on old maps. And you can see them if you use like the way back thing on your Google Earth. But less and less you can see them now. And I'm mentioning this because I'm not being a traitor to my country by suddenly revealing where all these things are, because we've passed the stage where keeping them secret and keeping them quiet was working. It's not working anymore because there's so much development going everywhere. We are seeing sites that we know where they are being destroyed. And the only chance to save them is to make them more recognised. Hiding's no longer going to work. Next thing you look, there'll be a housing estate on one. It's as simple as that. Or a wind farm, or trees, or solar panels. The countryside is being absolutely destroyed, and all these sites are being taken out. So it's now our duty to work out the clues and show people where they are, and try and get some interest for the authorities, people like CADW and that, to say, look, these are important sites. Please, can you protect them? And make sure they don't get, destroyed. Because at the moment, I'm not going to name them, but there are some very important sites that we track down which are not even listed or scheduled or anything. And there's nothing illegal, nothing to stop a farmer just ploughing through them. Some of the cromlechs, you just move them. They're not listed, they're not protected. They're going to go. And there's nothing you can do about it, nothing legal about it. So one of the things we're working very hard, where we do need support, and you can get involved in this as well, We're trying to photograph all these sites and film all these sites, make videos like this to show the sites, because they are going to go. They're going to go if we don't act together to try and save them. Because I always like to say, it might be hidden history at the moment. It's not destroyed history yet. It's just hidden history. Yeah, slight diversion there, but I think that was okay. Right. So as the Templar station of Troedel, this is Gilbert lifted some of this for his book, was granted in AD 1156 by Gilbert de Clare, the Lord of Glamorgan, who was then the most powerful lord in England and Wales. And it is possible that some similar grant was made establishing the Templar Knights at or near Nevern. So round about this period is when they were founded, and this is where they would have been founded. This may have guaranteed that the concealed cave and its disguising wall were left alone until AD 1308, when the Templars were dissolved, by which time they may have successfully concealed the site by encouraging the growth of trees and bushes similar to those growing across the front of the cave in 1982. Yeah, it wasn't Wilson and Blackett, didn't even know about this cave. Yeah. Equally, the cave wall would have become overgrown with moss and lichens. Whatever the Templars may have hidden or left, or what they were doing in the area, is being investigated, and much has been written in recent times about alleged lost Templar treasures. The Templar depository site appears to have been located elsewhere, and there are clear pointers as to where this might be. As is always the case, a lack of funds prevented any exploration of the site, and nonsense theories of the site being in northern Britain that were developed to promote tourism diverted all attention. It seems that X does mark the spot, but who cares when the X is not in the popular, politically correct location. The clinching evidence of this cave at Nevern being the place where the Empress Helen deposited the true cross is revealed by the study of the star maps of the great mounds on the hilltops, which you've already gone through, and the extensive number of significant place names in the immediate area. What exists is the definitive evidence of correct place names. Government OS maps show Castell Ellyn Fawr, so that means Ellyn. Ellyn is Ellyn, Fawr is big, or Great Helen, an ancient fortress above the junction of the Avon Bannon, the river of the Empress, and the Avon Niver, the Holy River. There are also huge, unexplored monumental ruins in an old wood at the tiny hamlet of Constantinople. Ah, I don't think they've been there. I bet Bob and Steve have. And several areas of the sides of narrow country lanes in this quiet backwater, never visited place, contain perfectly dressed stones that must have come from these ruined buildings. It really is heartbreaking. And then you come into explaining then how why this site was chosen for the cross. So you must understand here that when I'm trying to throw in a different chronology and a different narrative, it's not to say any part of this is not correct and that the cross isn't there. I think the cross is there, or at least it was there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's been removed at some point. The other thing which Alan Wilson shows as well is various other places where Templars would have stored treasures. They'd have been robbed out long ago. Don't get too excited. We found at least a couple of them. And there's another one which is really difficult to access. But I imagine that's been robbed out long time ago. You know, it's almost 1,000 years ago. But the puzzle in my mind, what I'm interested to see theories on, is let's take the information we've got. So we've got the cromlechs marking out the star signs. So were the cromlechs added? When were they added? When were them as above, so below? Because the cromlechs and the mounds and that do seem to match the stars above. Much like you got Hugh Evans done his fantastic work showing the mountains in northwest Wales mark out the stars. So, you know, they came first because you can't move the mountains around. But you can choose where you build a cromlech or a cairn or a pile of stones. You can choose where you do that. So they've chosen these sites to match the stars. The holy site, the site of the cross, is at Nevern. But this would have been a long time before the crucifixion and that cross came along. You see what I mean? There's something, I don't know, I need to have a think more about this. So I'm throwing ideas out there. I'm interested in people's answers and suggestions to how to try and square all these circles here. Square the circles? Circle the circles. Right, let's look. Thank you for the lovely comments. I love this. Seeking and finding. Young men, thank you for being a member as well, seeking and finding. Yeah, you can click the member join button. It's only a couple of quid a month. It'd be great if you do that. Much appreciated. Young men are always putting people's cars up on roofs and things. It seems to be a thing with guys. Stacking rocks makes sense. They didn't have cars or buggies to mess with. That is my top comment of the night. That goes right up there. That's cheered me up no end, that is. I love that one. Maybe something is buried under Pentre-Ifan. Looks like people holding a body. It looks like people holding a body. Ooh, right, okay. Got me interested now. Hang on a second. Come on, Ross. Wake up. Right, okay. Hang on a second. I'm just going to bring it back up on screen. Is that Pentre-Ifan? People holding a body. Okay, I have to admit, I can't quite get that one. All right, I'll have to explain that a bit further. Constellations, that's the word, yeah. Brad, hole making practice. Yeah, Brad's got some good ideas in this kind of thing. Perhaps you can explain how the cross... It's almost like what I'm saying is the site of the cross seems to be there before the cross, waiting for it. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say, isn't it? Yes. I think you got the idea anyway. Yeah, I think Adrian Gill writes great books. But he did manage to upset Wilson Black. And they didn't like the name Holy Kingdom either, but there you go. Only in Wales is there okay with hundreds of cars. Hundreds of cars? I haven't heard of that one. Okay. Born in Mad Anger. Looks like Cygnus mapped out on the ground. Yeah, that's the idea. Cygnus mapped out on the ground. Yeah, the cross. I can just show that again there. Just there we go. That's the idea of marking that one up. Richard D. Hall, Rich Planet, first mentioned Wilson Blackett. Yeah, I think most people have discovered this work through them, including myself. And I have the pleasure to get to know Richard, and hopefully we will be making a video together soon. So look out for that one. Right, could the gap be the key to them? Thinking the gap in the third stone could align... Yeah, the little gaps are important. Next time you go to see a cromlech, please have a look. You'd be amazed. It's like just a few millimetres. It's just one of those, why would you do that? Cut marks can be circles representing the sun, like spirals. Waddle. Oh, you got Waddle again. Waddle keeps coming up, doesn't he? Oh, okay. Zoe Spencer, I thought they were to collect dew or sacred water. Okay. I'll have to go along on dawn one day and see if that works. Interesting idea. Thank you, Zoe. Yeah, I think most people... No, Ross. Wrong idea of as above, so below. All right, you explain what the right idea of as above, so below is. Was Alan Wilson on Rich Planet? Yes, he was, a couple of times. And, yeah, if you go to Rich Planet, you can find them. Also, Richard's asked me... encourage me, give me permission, whichever you want to look at it, to copy all those videos onto my channel as well. And if I want to use anything like that, he's super good. Love the colour on your shirt, Ross. Thank you very much. Yes, it's supposed to be orange to match the cover of the Cymroglyphics book is the idea. Thank you very much. Right, David. Quoting the Holy Kingdom again. You're right. There's a 17th celestial map showing Helen carrying Cygnus, the Northern Cross. The shape is repeated in a stretch of Watling Street. I love the colour, right? Okay. Imagine the cut marks filled with water and reflecting a bright point in the night sky and viewed from a cursor stone. Thank you, Grant. Good idea. So I'll just take a... Right, okay, next time we go up and see the cut stones, you take some water with us and fill them all up and see if that collects something. Yeah, there is an interview. Yeah, definitely, Alan Wilson. If you go through... one of the things to look at is the playlists. Hang on a second. Just to show this to you, because I've noticed that there's some of the old videos which got really... Because this channel's been running for about 2.5, 3 years. Not that long, I suppose. Hang on a second. Well, I've noticed there's some of the older ones where they don't really have many views. And I'm not sure if people are aware of them, so... Just give you a little idea. If you when you come to this channel, almost 5,000 subscribers. Click on playlists, and you would find things much easier then. Okay. And there's a playlist here. a little about American hidden history. Look, early British Christianity. The hill forts. I mean, the Fortress Glamorgan, Sutton Hoo, Myth of a Roman Britain. All the live broadcasts are together. And hats off to David, who is working his way through all of them. Discovered the channel a couple of months ago. He's now watched the first 48. Like he watches one almost every day. Must do. So that's very impressive. But for some reason it's down the bottom. I can't order these. But if you look at Alan Wilson Talks, you'll find his little interviews I've done with him. And then you've got... there's a presentation he did at ARC. There's the full presentation at ARC. Sorry, there it is. There's his... I'm also in contact with Theo Chalmers as well, who thinks he's got another interview somewhere with Alan, which I don't think was ever broadcast, and hopefully he can find it. VHS, whatever format it is, I'll get it digitalised and put it up. Okay, so there's a few of them there, and what I'm going to do as well is copy across the ones from Rich Planet, okay? So keep an eye on this. This will be growing and growing as we get more interviews with the wonderful Mr. Wilson. All right, okay, let's have a look. Yeah, I have to say, Richard, the traditional timeline, I know this comment back at the time, the traditional timeline does make sense, because there's things like this throw up, and you think, well, how does that work with a different, how does this work with the other narrative? And it's too many things wrong, isn't it? There we are. I guess we'll never work it all out. The cross is not in Wales, says Bread. Okay. What, is never there, or is just not there now? Right, they tie in with the Cornish tale of Jesus visiting that's Marshall. Right, okay, anyway, we got loads of comments there. Thank you very much for everyone. Fulfilling the prophecy regards the cross. You could be right there, Gary Taylor. George Bodley, cut marks on stones a similar shape to coins found in Brandenburg. Same shape may have some significance. Yeah, I have to say, it's the first time I've seen them all drawn out like Bob did. Hang on a second. Let's put that on screen again. Okay. Ooh. Coming back to life a bit now. Just leave that on there for people to have a think about it. Male and female... Oh no, I've lost it. Sorry. I was getting... Which is Thor's hammer? Oh yeah, I'm going to do Teutonic stuff as well soon. Right, isn't it interesting how so many people are interested in the star maps? Kind of like you intuitively know something. Perhaps we are thinking too hard about this, Suzanne. Right, Thor's hammer is responsibility, something people find difficult to carry. Oh, okay. Thank you, Brad. Sad to think of how much I learnt in school, etc., about ancient Egypt and Rome in comparison with the old Norse and Vikings. Well, one of the things I've been reading more about from Wilson and Blackett from their notes in that, he's shown how a lot of the sort of Teutonic or Scandinavian stories seem to be the same as or copied from the British stories. Well, that doesn't go down very well, does it? Oh, hang on. This is why it's getting dark. There we go. Dr. Carl James Langford, did you meet him? I speak with Carl quite often on the phone. We still managed to meet. We're supposed to have met a few times. We both seem to be running around opposite directions, but we will get together and have a chat. We got on very well. He's a good bloke. So we don't agree on everything. In fact, quite a few things we don't agree on. But I like the fact he's out there doing something and he's putting his stuff up and he's making his books and he's doing his exploration and he's doing his archaeology and he's bringing to light some very, very important issues, particularly where ancient sites like Bronze Age burial sites, like what he did on 5 Mile Lane was very brave, and how all those burial sites and that were destroyed was quite outrageous. Right, okay, I think I'm starting to run out of voice and batteries, and I don't know, is this starting to swell a bit? That's this side, I think. Yeah, this is the one I got there. Yeah, I'm tough. You won't know it's a thing in a couple of days. That's the reason I gave up boxing, really. When my my coach said to me, "You're very good at taking a punch." I thought, thank you very much. I don't want to be good at taking a punch. I'd rather be good at giving a punch, if that's all right. Oh dear, anyone could take a punch, can't they? Think your neck, man. Supposed to avoid them, the best, isn't it? All right, so it's over an hour anyway, so I'll have to call it there, okay, folks? I say a little bit short tonight, gone a bit longer than I thought, but please, I'll try and do more on the Templars, and really, really urge, if there's someone out there who's interested in... so I think that when you start using words like Templars and the Masons and where they started and the founding, and you can find so much evidence for it in such a small area, I've been so willing over the last few years that someone would pick it up and run with it. You know, I give you all the information I've got, just go with it, you know, do some research, see what you come up with, make some videos, write a book, whatever you want to do, just take it on, because we really, really can't cover everything. Yes, I need to get some more sleep now. Yes, thank you for your kind thoughts on the comments. Great show. Well, thank you, Gary. That's very kind of you. I was a bit of a ramble in the middle there. I'll try and go over this lisp. Yeah. It's okay. It's not so bad. It wouldn't have bothered me a few years ago. Right. Okay. So, thank you very much. I'm going to say goodnight now. North Star, everyone. And I wasn't going to not do a show. I have to say, I was in bed this morning with a pretty high temperature under the duvets. And so grateful to Bob. Thank you very much for putting together pictures and stuff. Especially things like this one, which I hadn't seen before, which I'm absolutely fascinated by, and forgive me, this stuff to show. Otherwise, just been me rambling on with a thick lip for an hour and a half. So good night to everybody, and hopefully normal service will resume next week, and be fully fit again, and have a bit more prep and a bit more vigour and energy. All right. Oh, hang on, I need someone to play me out. My own family, no one listening to the show, look, see? I'm asking for a musician to play me out. Anyone out there watching, listening? No. Oh, by the way, just a model list. These are available, these tops. You can go through the merchandise. Are you going to play us out? Leon's going to play us out. He says, last minute jumping in. I'll say, if you want to find these, I'll just do a quick sales plug while I'm waiting for you to get yourself ready, Leon, okay? Leon passed his first piano exam a few weeks ago, so well done, Leon. Right, let's show you how we do this. Right, so okay, so when we so when we're on the donate page, we go to the merchandise shop. Click on the merchandise shop. And there you go, Saving Britain's Past, that's what we're trying to do. The arse is t-shirts, Wilson and Blackett on them, things about Welsh words that read in Egyptian. There's my favourite, Britain's Hidden History Needs You, my cartoon of Alan Wilson's face in the middle. There's a cool photograph, the land of Gnostic thing. Thank you to Tim for the photograph. There you are, Arnie designed that one, which is rather clever, I'll let you work it out. There you go, loads of stuff. After the War King, there's quite cool mugs, t-shirts, and there's some details on the back. What I'm going to do is, well done Angie, she made a t-shirt with this design in it. Hieroglyphics are in Welsh, you mummy. Oh, and there's the Universal Druid Prayer. She can get on various things, towels, t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. I have to... Oh, and there's the orange mug. Oh, wow. Well done, Angie B. I hadn't seen that before. Angie's done that. Fantastic. Bendy Geddy, going to get one of those. There we are. Sold one. All right, well, and thank you for all the kind wishes as well. I'm not that bad. I'll be all right. Just need to a quiet couple of days, get over the bumps and bruises. All right, so see you all. Right, you're going to play us out, Leon? Okay. Let me do my good nights to people. Oh, what's wrong? If you order 2 hoodies, do we get one printed each way around? Thank you, and night, yes, North Star. I got to grade 3 and then jumped ship to church organ instead. Ah, well, that's because your name's Church, isn't it, David? Obviously. David Mosley, Gwerthel and Vine, North Star. Yes, diolch yn fawr, Raviv. We have a large 12-circle stone on the property we owned. An ancestor signed over Pendry in his will. A circle with 12 circles in it. Wow, how cool is that? Take care of yourself. Your work is so important. Thank you. I'm important too. Hey, well done. Right, Leon, you're going to come around and try not to whack the camera, but you've got to go and do the thing. Or am I going to do it from here? Or am I going to try and do it from here? What number is it? Do you know?
3.
You sure?
Yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah? So I'll go to there, you take it from there, alright?
Okay.
Alright, no star. Look at his smile. Well, he loves this bit. Everyone loves this bit, don't they? Well, just happy that my show's finished, eh? Come on in. Alright. Heddwch. Yay, it worked. Alright, good night, everyone. I'll just leave on a few minutes, just to let you finish chats and things. Only a few minutes, though. I'm going to bed. Okay, no start.